Phill Tubbs says, do you have any tips on getting started with airbrushing? Just basic starting points and considerations. Thank you. That's a wonderful question. My tips on starting airbrushing is, when I have gone and researched other people's opinions on airbrushes and airbrushing, I find a little bit of the same thing I find when I look for how to make the perfect latte. And that is to say, a huge signal-to-noise ratio that approaches 1, honestly, right? This is because you have all these people with vociferous opinions about what's the best airbrush, and do you need double action or single action, and what kind of double action and single action, and how are you going to... And airbrushes can be highly expensive, really sensitive tools that require being really, really careful with them. I have no interest in using airbrushes like that. For the longest time, I used a basic single action Pash airbrush. That's how you pronounce it, P-A-A-S-H-E. Because that's what we used at Industrial Light and Magic. And if you want a robust airbrush, look at what a shop uses, because Industrial Light and Magic used those airbrushes because they were easy to fix, easy to clean, easy to maintain. A shop like ILM would never go out and spend a bunch of dough, like $300 a piece, on a bunch of Thayer and Chandler airbrushes. That's just not business sensible. And I used a Pash for years until I was at Weta Workshop doing some scenic work for their location-based exhibit they did in Auckland, that they used Iwata airbrushes. And I bought the exact model that they had, and it's changed my life. The Iwata is, if anything, easier to clean. I can spray all sorts of garbage through it, and it comes back for more. It is highly robust. And again, this is like, I looked at what a shop was using and made the assumption that their choice was based on something that was robust and, again, easy to maintain, easy to fix, and I have not been disappointed. My Iwata is a double action. And so, sorry, single action is you push the button and it sprays, and there's just only one kind of spray. You can adjust how hard it's spraying by how much you're pushing the button, but you can't adjust how much paint is coming out. Double action, you actually have this extra motion of moving the spray lever back, and pulling it back increases the amount of paint. This is a level of like patting your head and rubbing your stomach that I've never gotten good at. And frankly, almost none of the painters I ever worked with at ILM took the time to use double action airbrushes. They adjusted the paint with distance and with setting, because you can set the paint amount with the tip of a single action. So my advice is don't fret too much about the signal-to-noise ratio of airbrushes. Get yourself a cheap, posh, single action, and just start playing with it. Just start spraying some stuff through it. You will learn very quickly how thin your paint needs to be. Buy some cheap acrylics. Start with acrylics because they're much easier to work with than the oil-based, the lacquers and stuff like that. Yeah, that's my startup airbrush advice. I hope that's useful. Warship models underway. Kurt says, I was fascinated by your die filer build. Thank you. Do you have any more tools you would like to make for yourself? Yes. The company that makes that die filer makes some other kits. I'm drawing a blank on the name of that company. Is it Eastwood? I can't remember. Anyway, no, Hemingway Kits. Hemingway Kits has made a couple of the machine kits that I've built. Where is, oh, that one's, here it is. Here is a machinist's clamp that I built from Hemingway Kits kit. And again, these are kits just like my die filer. What arrives for you is just chunks of steel and metal, and you do all the thread cutting and all the machining. I'm really happy with this thing. I use it all the time, actually. And I have to say the parallelism of these two pieces and the lack of movement is some of the best machining I've ever done. So these kits are fabulous. The Hemingway kits have been fabulous for me for cutting my teeth, as it were, and getting better at machining. But I have another tool that I built that's worth taking a look at, and I think I've actually shown it on the channel. This is my router template circle cutter. And this is just this was just made using a piece of scrap plywood I had. I matched the 3-hole pattern for the bottom of my lathe plate and put in some washers here to be able to hold this onto the plate. And then I drew out all these measurements from center in order to be able to cut circles out of any size. And as you can see, if you want to do a close-up here, you can see these are all the slight different gradations. This is a tool that doesn't have an unlimited number of uses. At a certain point, I'll have to retire it because I've put in all these extra little holes for specific distances that I was trying to get. But this has served me really well. I think this has cut out about 3 dozen circles so far over the last couple of years. And I love the witness marks on homemade tools. Like there's so much story in this one in terms of all the different pieces, all the different bits of writing I've done to keep track of where stuff should go and how stuff should align and where it should end up. So this hangs behind the table saw, and yeah, that's my routing lollipop. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to support us even further, you can by becoming a tested member. Details are, of course, below, but it includes all sorts of perks, and we're building them all the time. You get advanced word and behind-the-scenes photos of some of our projects. Questions, you get to ask direct questions during my live streams, and we have some members-only videos, including the Adam real-time series of unbroken, unedited shots of me working here in the shop. They are weirdly meditative. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you on the next one.